relics associated with Jesus have been well known since their discovery, but their authenticity has always been debated. Some of these include the Holy Robe of Christ, the Crown of Thorns, and the Holy Grail. But one relic seems to hold the most credibility as new evidence proving its authenticity continues to come to the surface. This relic is believed to have been used to wrap Jesus' body, potentially revealing more information about the death of Jesus Christ. Hi there, welcome to our channel. Today we will explore the evidence that underpins the assertion of the Shroud of Turin's authenticity, a 14-foot linen cloth believed to bear the image of the crucified Christ. Can its authenticity no longer be disputed? Before we answer that question, what are your initial thoughts about this? Do you think that it's highly possible that it was the cloth that was wrapped around Jesus' body? Tell us in the comments below. For centuries, numerous individuals have claimed to have discovered the actual burial shroud of Jesus. Among the most famous candidates is the Shroud of Turin, named after its location in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, where it has been kept since 1578. The Shroud of Turin, also known as the Holy Shroud, or Santa Sindone in Italian, has been believed to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ for centuries. It has been kept in the royal chapel of the San Giovanni Battista Cathedral in Turin, Italy, since 1578. This linen piece measures 14 feet 3 inches in length and 3 feet 7 inches in width. It appears to show faint brownish images of a gaunt, sunken-eyed man who is 5 feet 7 inches tall. It looks as though one half of the shroud covered the body lengthwise, while the other half was folded over the head, covering the entire front of the body from the face to the feet. These images include markings believed to correspond to the wounds of Jesus' crucifixion, such as thorn marks on the head, back lacerations resembling flogging, shoulder bruises, and various stains thought to be blood. The shroud's historical record begins in 1354, when it was in the possession of the renowned knight Geoffroy de Charnay, Seigneur de Loret. In 1389, when it was put on display, the local bishop of Troyes declared it to be a cleverly painted forgery, attributing the artistry to the painter. The Avignon antipope Clement VII, who reigned from 1378 to 1394, didn't express his opinion on its authenticity, but allowed it to be used for devotion as long as it was presented as an image or representation of the real shroud. However, the following popes, starting with Julius II, accepted its authenticity. In 1453, Geoffroy de Charnay's granddaughter Marguerite gave the shroud to the House of Savoy in Chambéry, where it suffered damage from fire and water in 1532. It was then moved to the New Savoyard, capital of Turin, in 1578. Since then, it has been rarely displayed to the public, such as during Prince Umberto's wedding in 1931 and the 400th anniversary of its arrival in Turin in 1978. Pope John Paul II arranged for public viewings in 1998 and 2000, referring to the shroud as a mirror of the gospel. Pope Benedict XVI did the same in 2010, and Pope Francis made a pilgrimage to see it in 2015. A replica of the shroud is housed in the Museum of the Shroud in Turin. Since the late 19th century, scholars have used scientific methods to examine the shroud, trying to confirm or refute its authenticity. In 1898, it was observed that the sepia tone images on the shroud appeared more like photographic negatives than positives. This means that the brightest parts of the subject appear the darkest, while the darkest areas appear the lightest. Starting in the 1970s, various tests were conducted to determine whether the images were created using paints, scorches, or other substances, but none of these tests yielded definitive results. In 1988, the Vatican provided small samples of the shroud's linen to 3 different laboratories in different countries for carbon-14 dating. A paper published in the journal Nature states that after conducting radiocarbon measurements at Arizona, Oxford, and Zurich, the Shroud of Turin's linen is most likely to have originated between the years 1260 and 1390 CE, with a high level of confidence, at least 95% certainty. However, some scientists questioned the methodology used in these studies. The original carbon dating results, which were kept secret for 29 years but have now been made public due to freedom of information, were not as conclusive as initially believed. Historical research suggests the shroud existed long before carbon dating placed it in the Middle Ages. Recent dating tests have further supported this by dating the linen cloth to the 1st century. Therefore, the only piece of evidence that seemed to challenge the shroud's authenticity no longer holds up. Before we finally explore the evidence that supports the shroud's authenticity, what are your thoughts so far? Do you think that the carbon dating test was flawed and that the shroud could be real? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Forensic expert Matteo Barini and chemistry professor Luigi Garlascelli conducted a study using a living volunteer and a mannequin to understand how blood from Jesus' crucifixion and the spear wound would have spread on his burial shroud. They used both real human blood and synthetic blood, but couldn't recreate the exact stain pattern seen on the Shroud of Turin, no matter how they positioned the cloth. Their findings, published in the Journal of Forensic Sciences in July 2018, suggest that the bloodstains on the shroud don't match up with each other, indicating that they may not be from a natural source. Barry Schwartz, a leading expert on the Shroud of Turin, explained that a special instrument used in the study was originally designed for examining X-rays. This instrument stretched the lights and darks of an image vertically into space, keeping their proportions intact. With a regular photograph, this would create a distorted image. However, with the shroud, it revealed the natural 3D shape of a human body. This suggests a connection between the image's density and the distance between the cloth and the body. Schwartz believes this interaction could only happen if there was contact between the cloth and the body, not through projection or photography. He thinks that the way the image was formed on the shroud goes beyond what even modern technology can achieve. According to him, it's unlikely that a medieval forger would have had the knowledge and technique to create such an image, especially one that still baffles us today in an age where we are very image-focused. To further strengthen the shroud's credibility, 4 contemporary dating tests were made to re-examine its period of creation. The vanillin dating test by Dr. Raymond Rogers, along with 2 spectroscopic analyses conducted by Professor Giulio Fanti and his team, as well as tests on compressibility and breaking strength also conducted by Fanti and his team, all suggest that the shroud's age matches the time when Jesus lived and was crucified. Other kinds of extrinsic dating evidence were also made that suggest that the shroud existed in the time of Jesus. The first test was when Dr. Max Frey tested pollen samples collected from the shroud during the 1978 STURP investigation. He compared 58 pollen grains to those found in major botanical museums worldwide. His findings indicated that most of the pollen, specifically 45 grains, came from the region of Israel, particularly from sedimentary layers dating back 2,000 years near the Sea of Galilee. The 6 grains were from the eastern Middle East, 2 from Edessa, Turkey, and 1 exclusive to Istanbul or Constantinople, while the rest came from France and Italy. Notably, 13 pollen grains were unique to Israel and found at the bottoms of both the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. The second test includes Roman coins placed on the eyes of the shroud's image, strongly suggesting that the person depicted had 2 Jewish lepta, minted by Pontius Pilate in Judea around AD 29, on his eyelids. In the third test, it was found that there were 120 instances of blood and fluid stains matching between the shroud and the sudarium of Oviedo. This supports the idea that the shroud likely originated at a date and location similar to those of Jesus. Other arguments that support the shroud's authenticity are that it was not photographed or faked, including the study of the bloodstains on the shroud. The bloodstains on the Shroud of Turin seem to match the unusual crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth in a way that suggests they were on the shroud before the image was formed. This goes against what a forger would typically do. Experts who examined blood samples collected in 1978 on Shroud of Turin research project tapes confirm that the shroud indeed has traces of genuine human blood. Some scientists have even detected male DNA and an AB blood type on the cloth. However, while genetic testing supports these discoveries, we can't be certain that this blood and DNA belong to the person depicted on the shroud. Another strong point in favor of the shroud's authenticity is how the image was created. It wasn't made using dyes, chemicals, fumes, or burning. The only known explanation is that it was formed by a powerful burst of vacuum ultraviolet radiation, similar to the combined energy of 14,000 excimer lasers coming from every point on the body in the shroud. This suggests that the way the image was created, through a powerful burst of vacuum ultraviolet radiation, hints at an event resembling a resurrection, much like what's described in the Gospels. At present, the laws of physics that we know of cannot clarify how a decaying body could give off a strong burst of vacuum ultraviolet radiation. Additionally, they can't clarify how this body could turn transparent and emit light from every part inside it in 3 dimensions. Many researchers and experts have suggested conducting new carbon dating tests due to these convincing arguments, although there's resistance since these tests could harm the linen cloth. The Vatican typically refers to the shroud as an icon, highlighting its symbolic significance while not taking a stance on its historical authenticity. However, with ongoing studies disproving previous claims against the shroud's legitimacy, it becomes increasingly apparent that its authenticity holds up well. What are your final thoughts on this matter? Is the Shroud of Turin real or not? Tell us what you think in the comments below. If you learned a lot in this video, please give it a like, click subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.